share the slides. Okay, now it works. And I think, do you see the slides now? Okay, thank you. So today I'm going to talk about the smart wearable textiles that foster and elevate connections in electronic sport teams. And I come from Hammer University of Applied Sciences, so it is the small university with something like 10,000 students, and we are located in the southern part of Finland. And the presentation that I'm going to give to you, it has also many collaborators that have contributed to this, so from HUMC, so Hammer University of Applied Sciences, and also from Tampere University of Technology. Electronic sports, shortly about, it's a competitive, organized, or technology-enabled activities encompassing varying degrees of physicality, virtuality, and technological immersion. So it's about the competitive gaming. And usually in the electronic sports, to be successful, it requires good communication to coordinate the actions in the games, and also excellent socio-emotional skills. The prototype that I'm going to present has lots of things to do with the mediated touch, but just shortly about the touch. So touch is the central non-verbal communication channel in successful sport teams. And for example, in the NBA basketball, so those teams who have more touches, so high fives, fist bumps, hugs, they actually have better teamwork and they perform better. So this touch, it communicates trust between people and affection, and strengthens the social bond that is then seeing that how well the teams work together or how well they perform. The idea in the mediated touch is that the ability of one actor to touch another actor over a distance by means of tactile or kinesthetic feedback technology. So it's about the remote touch, and we know that the remote touch can communicate emotions, feelings of connectedness, intimacy, sympathy, and prosocial behavior, for example, like helping others. But what is currently done in this field is that the research is pretty much the dyadic, so that's a remote touch between two people in intimate relationships, and it's mainly experimental research. And in those images you see some commercial products that are available. So they are the remote touch for the close relationships, so different type of wristbands. But the previous studies have not looked at that, how this mediated touch could work in the team settings. So when there is more than two people and maybe not that tight social connection. Smart wearable textiles. So wearables are the computers that are integrated into the clothing or accessories that are worn on the body. And here you see one type of smart wearable textile in the image that we have developed, and this is for the calming down the breathing. So it's stroking the arm, and the participants set up their breathing according to the stroking movement of the arm. So smart textile systems are textile-based systems which respond to external stimuli by the user or environment. And the research in smart wearable textiles it's been strongly related to the technological development, but we also know some aspects on the user experience side, which then at the end defines the quality of the product. So on the pragmatic quality, there are aspects like usability, how useful the product is, and how comfortable is it to wear. And on the hedonic quality, so how visually aesthetic the products are, and what kind of social experience they provide. So are they somehow like giving them better social status, for example, or is it something that people feel that they should hide some products that they are using? Like for example, this smart product that you see at the moment on the screen. So this is something that is actually designed to be under the t-shirt so that the others don't see that someone is using this type of device. So what are the goals of this talk? So it's about the design and evaluation of smart wearable textiles that is designed to foster social connection in electronic sports teams using mediated touch. So I will a little bit open up the design part at the beginning, so you get an idea that how we have been working and what kind of approaches has been taken, and then I present the results from the user evaluation study. In the design in our group, we use human-centered design approaches, which means that the end users participate throughout the design process, and we start by understanding their needs, then defining the goals, ideating solutions, building lots of different types of prototypes, and then validating the results with the users. So this cycle is of course not linear, even this image gives a little bit idea of that, but usually it has lots of iterations that we do. So this is something that we have been working with. And for example, in this project, we started with a really open brief. So we didn't know that we are doing some kind of smart wearable textile for teams. We had an idea that we would like to work with the team, esports teams. We would be interested in emotions and something related to the wearables or textiles. And this was the starting point for the whole development. So not having the direct concept in mind, but rather this type of open brief. And this is super busy slide, I'm sorry about it, but I wanted to have kind of the all phases that this type of implementation has included in. So at first we did the concepting, so we interviewed players and coaches and different type of experts. So I think we have had more than 100 semi-professional esports players and professional coaches in our studies. We did lots of background research or related or reviews like a touch. So what is the role of touch in emotions and social psychology, how the touch is used in top performing teams, and how the top performing teams in general behave. Then we did a concept testing, lots of different types of scenarios. In the upcoming slides I have some concrete examples there, but images and stories and iterating the early concept. Then we did, of course, the benchmarking and looking at the trends that what is happening in the haptic user interfaces, esports clothing and textiles, and esports and its business. And after that, we were able to decide that what we even try to target. So designing the point of view, different type of user personas, so kind of the target groups, how the product should look like and feel like, define the requirements and set the goals that the product should have. So for example, that it needs to be comfortable to wear, it should not be interactive, and so on. So after this concepting, we actually moved to the design and implementation and testing, and there are 4 lines that we have worked at the same time. So fashion, user experience, software, and electronics. And for example, in the fashion, we did 3 different iterations in the prototype that I'm currently showing for you. So lots of product design, different type of structural choices of the material, and the material tests and prototyping. User experience side, we have done lots of user interface testing, different type of input-output method testing, and then the actual study that I will show you today. And then in the software side, different type of architecture things, UI implementation, cloud design, communication design, and firmware. And in similar way in the electronics part, so requiring specification, different type of circuit board design, production of the boards and assembly. And I think in electronics there's been already like 6 different iterations. But this is the how we are building the things in our team, and I have now 12 people in my team representing these different areas of development that we are able to study different type of social wearables. And here are some, I think I have 2 slides here, the slides to show something that we have done over the product development, which I described in the previous slides. So we have done lots of user studies to understand their needs. We have done scenario-based design. You see that there is some text and hand-drawn images. So we start with those type of things. Point of view describes the need. So these 4 teams need a way to encourage team members and share more often non-verbal positive feedback when playing remotely to build good team spirit and perform well. And then there are user experience goals that are kind of directing the whole development. So product is to send and receive a touch, simple, synchronous, trustworthy, non-interruptive, sporty and comfortable. So here is something, and here are some examples of the prototypes that we have done over the development. So really kind of starting from the lower arm, and we have looked at the socks and trousers also, and then with different type of prototypes for that the whole interaction would be located under the lower arm, and then there are some images about the user interface design and physical prototypes, and as well as some images about the electronics that have been developed. I have a video. I don't know how the sound works, but it will probably work also without. So this video demonstrates the idea, and the idea in the product is that the player can send a little bit like a digital high five or remote touch for the whole team. So it works in a way that when the one people presses or touches the sleeve, it sends the vibration for all team members, and it's not separating that who is sending, it's just that you are encouraging the whole team. Okay. Okay, so the sleeve itself looks like this. So it has 3 different areas. So on the lower arm or close to the wrist, you have a touch area where you can send the touch and you receive the touch as a small vibration. Then there's an information area which shows the status of the sleeve, so that it's on and it's working, or the Bluetooth is working and the battery, and it's also showing when you are receiving or sending the touches. And then there's an area for the connection area where the battery and overseas electronics is located. And this just shows quickly the electronics that was used in this version. So with the software electronics or wearable electronics. So there's a touch sensor, vibration motor, visual feedback and status of the system presented on the lights, and then all other electronics was encapsulated to the so rigid electronics was encapsulated. And the overall idea, how does this work, is that the sleeve is connected to the app by the Bluetooth, and then from app it communicates via the cloud computing with any type of a Wi-Fi or mobile networks, and then the receiving the apps are getting the message, and then it's distributed to the all sleeves. We also this type of user or the app, because we needed to that device to take care of the communication, but it's mainly its role is just to take care of the communication. I stop here and first and say that from our research, what we do, so from the methodologically, this is pretty much research through design, and we need to build the prototypes to be able to study the things that we are interested in studying. So it's always the two sides of the work. So building the prototypes and developing them, and to be able to study something that we are really keen on. So goal of this study is to see that what is the user experience of using this type of team touch, mediated team touch device in electronic sports. And we tested this with 6 CSGO teams, each having 5 players, altogether 30 players, and the players' mean age was 20 years. They all male, and they had 2.2 years competitive gaming experience. The setup was done so that there was a pre-test session, taking into account the written consent, background, data collection, something about the gaming experience and technology attitudes. We also studied the quality of the connection between each other with the different type of surveys, but it's out of the scope of the talk today. Then in the actual test session, we tested the teams that they co-located. So they were in the same location, not in the remote location, because this was the first user study that we were able to do. So we didn't, technologically we were not ready to do the remote testing yet. So they had a training, and then they played one game, and we had two researchers doing the observations, and we collected game statistics and logs of sending and receiving the messages. And then after the test, we had surveys about the quality of the connection, so and also user experience survey, as well as the interview. And I will present the results from the interview, something about the observation and surveys and log files. So kind of the rich image that what was the experience when using this type of device in the esports. I have a small video that shows you, which are captured from the user studies, so you can follow that how they touch, how they have the different ways they touch the device, and how it's kind of also circulating that when the one touches, or how it's what's the word, emotion contagion. So when the one touches the sleeve, then the others start to touch the sleeve as well. Let's see how this looks like. Okay, let's go to the results. So in the interview, we did the thematic analysis, and so altogether we had 475 codes, and then 15 sub-teams and 4 main teams that are now presented on these slides. So the teams were encouragement to strengthen positive emotions individually and in the team. So it was seen that the use of the sleep kind of encourages the positive use of the positive emotions, both on a team and individual level. It improved connection and team spirit, and there was the situation-dependent usage. So how the game was going and what was the situation in the game kind of determined that how the device was used. And then there were experiences of product or its parts. But let's look at some of these more in detail. So this encouragement to strengthen positive emotion individually and in team. So first of all, we saw that the device was used for encouragement. It's not so you need to also know that if the device is used for this intended, but they use it for encouragement, and they express positive emotions of when sending and both receiving encouragement, and the positive emotions and motivations in the team was visible there. And it also reduced negative emotions. For example, if you have had a bad trial or bad round, it's kind of helped to recover from negative emotions. And I will read some of the quotes here. So, I used the sleep after the game rounds to cheer up and motivate my friends. At least everyone was smiling after a couple of messages. The sleep helps us to increase team spirit and try harder, especially in the difficult situations. Then I knew it was a tight situation, even though I didn't succeed when you started to get the message, somehow you got over that situation. So this was kind of the example of reducing negative emotions. So this was one of the biggest themes in the interview. In the second theme was improved connection and team spirit. So it increased feeling of closeness and improved team spirit. And as a quote, group hug, it's a group hug or group hug. Yes, there was a new level of connection that only relates to this. It brought its own kind of thing to it in a way, a different connection when you know everyone has a sleep. And also it increased the amount of positive feedback and contagion in a team. Then when I get a message, it's like, then it comes a chain reaction. So this is reflecting on the emotion contagion that the use of the sleep introduced for the team. So then there is a situation-dependent use, and it has 4 sub-themes. So the device was used at the beginning of and at the end of the round, and also after the good round, and playing and try, but not during the round because it would have been interrupting. And the team felt that they need to agree the way of acting and adapting to its use, and they said that it would be really useful in the remote gaming and long game sessions. So on the bottom of the slide, you can see that how this Counter-Strike is basically organized. So there are rounds, so when they play, and then there are short breaks in between, and then a round and break and round and break. And yeah, so basically the sending of the messages usually took place at the beginning of the round, or at the beginning of at the end of the break, or after the round. So those were the places where they use it. So sending a message is suitable at the end of the round or at the beginning after winning an important round. It's suitable for cheering, not like in the middle of the round. Feeling of cheering would be conveyed even better if we were remote, long distance, but you could still feel the touch. So those were I didn't take the user experience aspect from the interviews here, but I have some other slides about it. So the observation, so during the study, the observation was made by the two professional or expert observers. And again, we conducted thematic analysis, which is suitable when you have a kind of a new phenomenon where to start. We had 127 codes, and at the end, 3 main themes. We counted for the iterator reliability as well. So in the observation, these are kind of giving the further support for the interview results. So it was seen as a use of the sleep as an encouraging touch gesture, and usually when it was used, there was also the verbal encouragement at the same time. So for example, at the beginning of round, they maybe yell like, let's go, and then they energetically tap their sleeve. Or after their good round, they did the same. So like yelling like, yeah, we won, and then then showing of expressing this also via the haptic. It was encouraging gesture with the sleeve parallel with or to replace other gestures, and we also see this contagion of encouragement that started to go over there. Use depended on the situations of the game and the player, so it was used as after the successful round, before round, but then also these teams kind of developed their own behavior of using the sleeve over the game, because this was a new device, so they kind of learned the way to use it with their team. They talked about agreeing how to use it with the team, and there were also individual differences in team communication. In the product perceptions, it was about the wearability of the sleeve, and there were some trust on communication issues, so maybe some of the touches were not went through, or the toucher didn't give enough feedback for the user. Here are the results from the log data that we look at from the touch sensor. So looking at the touches that were sent, and there are 3 different teams. So by just quickly glancing through the 3 teams, you can see that Team A have sent lots of touches, Team B not that much, and Team C is somewhere in between. And then there are rows for the different players, so you can also see that there are big individual differences in the way of sending the touches. So this image kind of illustrate that there are team level differences and individual differences, and also you can see that when there is the line for sending the touch, it's usually located with the other lines. So you can see here also that the touch has been sent mainly during or around the rounds, so before or after the rounds, and they are located close to each other, so sending has happened at the same time for many of the players. About the user experience results, so these are from the attractive questionnaire, and on the left-hand side you can see the factors, so hedonic quality, reflecting how stimulating the product has been, how attractive it is, how well the users can identify themselves, so it's hedonic quality as well, and then the pragmatic quality, mainly about the usefulness and user experience. So this is from scale -3 to 3, and most of the evaluations are around 1, which is kind of describing that the overall experience of the product has been positive, mildly positive, and there are not major issues that would kind of reduce the experience quality of the product. On the right-hand side, there are detailed presentations of each of the factors that are part of the user experience, but if I highlight just some of the highest ones, so it was experienced as a really novel and innovative product, and it was felt that it's connected between people. As a kind of the shortcomings there, it was seen a little bit technical, a little bit unpredictable, and maybe a little bit dull. So it has something to do with the way that the vibration or receiving the message was developed, as well as its sending. To come to the discussion and conclusions about this particular study that I presented for you. So what we learned and what we saw. So this was the first study that was, to our best knowledge, the first study that has been done with the technology-mediated touch in the two-way communications within the teams. So we saw that it's elevating and encouraging. Its use is elevating encouragement and to cheer a team, and it has it uses kind of the celebratory gesture with a shared meaning to positive affect. And we have seen that similar behavior is also reported, for example, in the soccer. It induced positive emotions and reduced negative emotions. So this means that this mediated team touch is able to support the communications of emotions in a team as well as to help the emotion regulation. So, for example, recovering from the negative emotions. And both receiving and sending evoke positive emotions and evoke better social connection. Previous research that has been done in this field has been focusing only on the side of the receiving messages. So our work was kind of able to go beyond that and also to show that even the sending itself, it's kind of the gift-giving behavior between people and it evokes positive emotions. Behavior with the encouraging gesture was static, meaning that it was dependent on the situation. So the uses were structured around the game and performance, and more after good play, less behavior after the bad play. And this type of kind of static behavior has similarities that has been described in Elite Handball, and there this type of situation dependent behavior correlates also overall performance. We saw that the use of the sleep was partly complemented with speech, and it reflects that the human communication is multimodal by its nature, and it also is part of this multimodal communication is part of belonging. There were individual and team level differences, and so this might reflect the aspect that the touch itself is it's about the communication, getting trust between people. So there may be maybe the trust differences or the some kind of differences in the team structure or the tightness of the team. What we also saw was the increased feeling of closeness, team spirit, and sharing positive feedback. And this confirms that the previous studies that have been done in the mediated but in dyadic communication, so it confirms that feeling of connection, sympathy, and prosocial behavior can be reached with a mediated touch. It also complements that it's about the positive feedback as a prosocial behavior and emotion contagion takes a place. And it can be seen that maybe the use of the sleep would be a tool for learning emotional and social competencies that are typical for the successful esport teams. So maybe the prototype would find its way in fusion, kind of learning to pay attention to more attention to the team than yourself. Some limitations about the study that I saw. So we only used one type of game, so Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which has short rounds, playing rounds. So maybe it would be interesting to see that how the behavior would change if we had the long continuous games like Dota or LoL, where the duration of the round is like could be like 45 minutes instead of like 1 minute 50 seconds. So how would this then change? This was a cross-sectional study that we did, and of course it would be interesting to see that how these results, what is the validity of results if we conduct the long-term use studies, as well as the study in the remote settings. That's something that we are actually currently working with. We didn't separate the role of players or coaches, so that's something to look at a little bit more in detail. So now in this study, the coaches didn't participate anyhow, but in future it would be interesting to see how this would work. And of course, for this, the key aspect here is to understand the relation between the team touch, teamwork, and team performance. So from the viewpoint of the end users, because the semi-professional teams that we use, they would like to, of course, perform and be successful, and whether this type of technology can help in that, it's probably one of the key aspects to look at. But this was all that I wanted to share with you about the smart wearable textile that has the power to foster and elevate connections in electronic sport teams. And I hope this was something inspiring or something different that maybe is the key focus on your research area. I stop sharing that I see you, and I think, I don't know if we have possibilities for the questions also, but this was my presentation part. Hello.
I was one of the speakers also with you, but I am in a more comfortable situation of being here in the kitchen. I'm very, very welcome. So one question that came to my mind, so we were more on supporting more positive feedback. And in case of negative feedback, so if one of the players is not working well and it's more a tap in the head or even an electrical shock, have you considered some more? So it was my consideration.
Yes, thank you. Maybe we have not thought about the punishment type of interaction, but it was a good comment that if someone is playing badly, so actually what we saw in the studies was that when someone had a good try but wasn't successful, or the run wasn't successful, then they usually just tapped like once. So this was the empathic touch. But if they were playing well, then they usually did like this. So they created the kind of the language to support others. Thank you. It's a really good question.
First of all, thanks a lot for accepting our invitation and giving I was fortunate enough to listen to a part of this in our previous discussion, but this was more interesting to see it in a full length. I was just thinking of something like this is used for esports, but then what if it could be used for mental health solutions, sort of say if the psychologist had someone who is isolated and who needs to be taken care of, and if they go down and the moods and all that, someone is patted and is that one application that you could think of? Because we are more interested in mental health solutions and all that, and we were thinking if this could be implemented in such a case, there can be a constant touch between say the caregivers, the parents or the friends, and then the psychologist, so that someone who is isolated and is suffering with say anxiety or depression can be taken care of and all that. Do you think that's one application where we can use it?
I believe that there are many applications that it could be used, but and maybe with some small modifications. But yes, we are interested in. We are looking at different areas. We just started from electronic sport, but this was a practical reason. So because they are early adopters of technology, so we were able to build these things quickly and try out, and then going to the other areas which have more regulation and more complicated kind of procedures that we can even
extending. Probably we can discuss.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank Thank you, Dr. Sathu, for sharing your expertise on smart wearable textiles and esports. Your talk has offered valuable perspectives on this innovative field. We truly appreciate your contribution and look forward to more such inspiring sessions in the future. Thank you, ma'am. Now we will disperse for lunch. Participants and volunteers can avail the bus to commute to the main